I didn't know that, but okay. My name is Reiser. I live at 831 Reservoir Drive, Northeast. And I would like council and mayor to rethink spending all the money on Duncan Plaza. My point of interest is $125,000 taken from the Park and Recs tax to be spent on Duncan Plaza. That should be spent on excavating the reservoir basin. The 4 storm drains on Reservoir Drive Northeast is keeping the west side of the basin wet with the potential of mosquito breeding. Is it the Parks Department responsibility to spray the standing water for the mosquitoes? The mayor said in the newspaper August 1st of 2017 per Joel Smith that option 1 was off the table. Does anyone on council need reminded of the 3 options? I've got the newspaper article right here. If you think spending $30,000 to clear the banks of the reservoir of trees and weeds is going to pacify we who want the water back, so you can justify spending $125,000 on a Duncan Plaza, you're sadly mistaken. Clearing the banks of the reservoir is exposing option 1 that the mayor did not want. We refer to the reservoir basin as the ditch. Almost $50 million has been collected in taxes by the Park and Rec Department since 1996. And what do we have to show for it? Restore Our Reservoir Committee strongly opposes any Park and Rec tax funds going to Duncan Plaza. We would like the City Council to amend the state grant for Duncan Plaza to include excavating of the Citgo Creek Reservoir. The mayor talked about liking to plan ahead what plans are made for the ditch, which is the creek. You know, it's disgusting, it's despicable, and it's a shame that it's been left to go the way it is. Especially when it's your front yard and you've got to look at it every day. That's ridiculous.
Anybody else out there would like to comment?
I'd like to answer your question. What are the plans for the reservoir? You said right there that you plan up to 2 years ahead. It's been 2 years, 3 months, and 3 days since you destroyed it. Now what are your plans?
Okay, members of council, Mr. Reiser, that problem with the reservoir was an inherited problem of 26 years, almost 3 decades. When I came into office, we attempted to fix that problem, and our engineer department wrote a grant, which we did not get. We did have a plan ready to bring to council the day that the ODNR came in and said, you must drop it. And so we had to comply. When you're underneath ODNR, you have to comply. And at the time, they said we couldn't even ask for funding to help with that. We were able to work with our state legislators, Scott Olsager, Kirk Schuring, Thomas West, and we were able to secure $250,000 to do what they asked us to do. And we also did a survey. And the survey, as you all can remember, was not answered by many people in our community. So we were trying to decide, with the help of our community, on what is the best option, and we gave 3 options. And I believe between 300 and 500 people responded out of 32,000 plus residents. That was not enough for us to make a decision on. Since then, there's a long-standing issue with the law department that said that there was dual responsibility with the mayor and the parks director, that the parks board and the mayor oversaw the parks director. What was a long-standing feud. So we hired outside counsel to decide for us who is in charge of the parks department. And we brought it back to council, and it could be either the safety and service director or the park board. And city council chose and voted, I think unanimously, I'm not sure, someone was absent, that they wanted the parks board to be in charge of the parks director and the parks and the facilities. So I am no longer in charge of the Park and Rec department. Steve Pedro can sign his own contracts, and he answers to the park board. So I hope that answers your question.
No. What are your plans? Your personal plans?
Well, if there's anything that needs to be done, a survey needs to be done again. Because I know that it's your front yard, but people on the west side don't agree with that. So they don't want to see the money spent for the reservoir. They don't want to spend $5 million or $3 million or $1.5 million. So I think that the community needs to weigh in on what they want to see for the reservoir. It can't be my personal decision. It has to be a community decision. So we can institute another survey, but people have to answer it so that we know what direction to take.
Our committee gave the city a survey with 389 signatures on it, telling the city what they wanted, and you threw it away. The
I
city
didn't throw it
just,
away.
the city just threw it away.
Sir, I did not throw that away.
Ignored what
We're
was
gonna
before.
debate this, all right?
Sir, I did not throw that away. But 300 signatures compared to 32,000 residents is not enough to tell us what the community wants. Everybody would have to pay towards that. And so we just felt that we didn't have enough to make that decision. And so what we decided to do was get out from underneath ODNR, and the date was December 31st, 2018. So it just happened. We just received our letter last November that we were no longer under the ODNR jurisdiction. So I just want to clarify the dates on that. This is 2019. And once again, I am not in charge of the Park and Rec department. That is Steve Pedro, and he answers to the Park and Rec board. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you said that the community should.
I'm sorry, but we
pay for it.
need you in the microphone for the record, please.
You stated that the community shouldn't have to pay for it. We've been paying for our parks since 1996, almost $50 million worth. Where has that money gone? Why aren't our parks fixed up? Is all that money going to that golf course? Tell me, where did $50 million go to?
Well, it's gone to take care of the parks, the rec center, the legends. It's gone to take care of all of that.
Well, none of the parks look good.
Anybody else have